in the heart of East Los Angeles, where the neon lights flickered against the cracked pavement and the air carried the faint tang of exhaust and desperation. Officer Danny Reyes was a name that sent shivers down spines. To the residents of the tight-knit Barrio, he was no protector. He was a predator in a badge, a man who wore the law like a mask to hide his sins. For years, Danny had ruled the streets like a kingpin, extorting shopkeepers, shaking down dealers, and turning a blind eye to cries of those he was sworn to serve. His cruiser prowled the neighborhood like a shark, its red and blue lights a warning rather than a promise of safety. It was late September 2025, and the air was thick with tension. The neighborhood had grown quieter, not out of peace but fear. Whispers spread about Danny's latest scheme, a protection racket targeting the small businesses along Say's Archavis Avenue. Pay up or your shop burns. Refuse and you disappear. No one dared speak his name aloud, but everyone knew who pulled the strings. Maria Alvarez, a single mother who ran a taqueria called La Esperanza, had seen enough. Her tiny restaurant, with its faded yellow walls and hand-painted menus, was her lifeline. She'd paid Danny's tax for months, slipping him envelopes of cash under the counter while her daughter, Sophia, did homework in the back. But last week, Danny had doubled his demands. "Times are tough," he'd said with a smirk, his hand resting on his holster. Maria's savings were gone, and the fear in Sophia's eyes was more than she could bear. Maria wasn't alone in her anger. Across the street, Javier, the aging barber, had started keeping a knife under his counter. In the apartment above the laundromat, Elena, a nurse who worked nights, had begun recording Danny's late-night visits on her phone, her hands trembling as she hid behind the curtains. The neighborhood was a powder keg, and Danny was the match. It started with a scream. On a humid Thursday night, the kind where the air clung to your skin, a crowd gathered outside La Esperanza. Sophia, just 16, had been closing up when Danny's cruiser rolled to a stop. He'd stepped out, his boots heavy on the pavement, and demanded to see Maria. When Sophia said her mother was at the bank, Danny grabbed her arm, his fingers digging into her skin. "Tell her I don't wait," he hissed. Sophia yanked free and screamed, a raw, defiant sound that echoed down the street. Javier, trimming a customer's hair, dropped his scissors and ran outside. Elena, just home from her shift, leaned out her window, phone in hand, capturing every second. Others emerged, shopkeepers, neighbors, kids on bikes, drawn by the commotion. Danny, sensing the eyes on him, laughed it off, but his eyes were cold. He climbed back into his cruiser and peeled away, leaving Sophia shaking and the crowd buzzing with something new, rage. Maria returned to find her daughter in tears and a dozen neighbors outside her shop. Javier pulled her aside, his voice low. "We can't keep doing analytical this. He's going to kill someone." Elena showed Maria the video. Danny's face clear as day, his badge glinting under the streetlight. "This could be something," Elena whispered. "But we need more." Maria's hands clenched into fists. She'd spent years teaching Sophia to trust the police, to believe in justice. Now that trust was ash. "What do we do?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Javier's eyes hardened. "We fight." The next night, they met in the back of Javier's barbershop, a cramped room smelling of aftershave and coffee. Maria, Javier, Elena, and a handful of others, Raul, who ran the bodega, Carlos, a mechanic with a rap sheet, and Luz, a schoolteacher who'd seen too many kids bruised by Danny's lessons. They called themselves Los Valientes, the brave ones, though none felt brave. They were terrified, but they were done hiding. Elena's videos were a start, but they needed evidence that would stick. Danny was careful, never leaving a paper trail. His payoff were cash, his threats whispered, but Carlos had an idea. He's got a partner, right? Officer Klein. Young guy, green. I've seen him look away when Danny gets rough. If we can get to Klein, maybe he talks. Maria frowned. Why we turn on Danny? Because he's scared too, Carlos said. I know that look. He's in over his head. The plan was risky. They'd tail Danny, document his every move, and approach Klein when he was alone. Elena would handle surveillance, using her phone and a cheap hidden camera Javier bought online. Raul would track Danny's patterns, noting where he went and who he met. Maria would keep the group grounded, her quiet strength holding them together. And Carlos, with his street smarts, would find a way to get Klein. They had one rule: no one goes near Danny alone. He was too dangerous, too unpredictable. But as they left the barbershop, Maria felt a chill. She glanced down the street, half expecting to see Danny's cruiser idling in the dark. It wasn't there, but the feeling lingered. For 2 weeks, Los Valientes became shadows. Elena's camera caught Danny shaking down a street vendor, his voice low and menacing. Raul mapped out Danny's routine. Mornings at a diner on Olympic Boulevard, afternoons at a warehouse near the river, nights cruising to Barrio. The warehouse was a key. Raul saw Danny meeting men in suits, exchanging duffel bags under the covered darkness. Drugs, money, or both, it didn't matter. It was leverage. Carlos tailed Klein, watching the younger officer fidget at the diner while Danny laughed with the waitress. One night, Carlos slipped into the booth across from Klein, casual as could be. "You don't look happy, man," Carlos said, sipping a coffee. Klein froze, his eyes darting to the door. "Relax," Carlos continued. "I'm not here to jam you up, but we both know who's running the show." Klein's jaw tightened. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know Danny's dirty," Carlos said, leaning in. "And I know you're not. Not yet. You want out? Help us." Klein said nothing, but his hands shook as he left. Carlos didn't push. He'd planted the seed. Meanwhile, Danny's grip tightened. He smashed Raul's bodega window after Raul forgot a payment. He cornered Luz outside the school, his voice dripping with menace. "Keep your nose clean, teacher." Maria found a note slipped under her door. "Stop playing games, or Sophia pays." Her heart pounded, but she didn't tell the others. They were too close to back down. On a Friday night, everything unraveled. Elena's camera caught Danny at the warehouse, handing a bag to a man in a black SUV. The footage was grainy, but the license plate was clear. Raul ran it through a contact at the DMV, a favor from an old friend, and it came back registered to a shell company tied to a local cartel. They had him, but Danny was no fool. He'd noticed the eyes on him, the way the neighborhood grew quiet when he passed. He started driving erratically, doubling back, watching his mirrors. When he caught Javier lingering near the warehouse, he didn't hesitate. That night, Javier's barbershop went up in flames. The fire department called it arson, but no one was arrested. Javier, unharmed but shaken, called Maria. "He knows we're on to him." The group met in a panic. Elena's hands trembled as she uploaded the warehouse video to a secure drive. "We need to go to the feds," she said. "LAPD won't touch him. He's got too many friends." Maria nodded, but her mind was on Sophia. She'd sent her daughter to stay with a cousin in San Diego, but the note still haunted her. "We need Klein," she said. "He's our shot." Carlos reached out again, this time catching Klein outside a convenience store. "Danny's going down," Carlos said bluntly. "You can go with him, or you can help us. Your call." Klein's face was pale, his eyes bloodshot. "He'll kill me," he whispered. "Not if he's locked up," Carlos replied. "We got video, dates, names. Give us something the feds can use, and you walk." Klein hesitated, then nodded. "He keeps a ledger," he said, voice barely audible. "In his locker at the station. Names, amounts, dates, everything." Los Valientes moved fast. Elena contacted a friend at the FBI, a straight arrow agent named Torres who'd grown up in the Barrio. She sent him the video and Klein's tip, anonymized to protect the group. Torres was skeptical but intrigued. "If this ledger exists, it's a gold mine," he said. "But we need it in hand." The problem was access. Klein could get to the locker, but he was terrified. Maria, Javier, and Carlos coached him, meeting in secret at a park far from the Barrio. "You're not alone," Maria told him. "We're all risking everything." On a rainy Tuesday, Klein did it. He slipped into the station's locker room, heart pounding, and pried open Danny's locker with a stolen key. The ledger was there, a small black book filled with meticulous entries. Klein stuffed it in his jacket and walked out, expecting a bullet at any moment. He handed it to Torres that night, along with Elena's video. The feds moved swiftly. At dawn, they raided Danny's apartment in the warehouse and 3 other locations tied to the cartel. Danny was dragged out in cuffs, his face a mask of rage. The ledger was a roadmap to his empire, payoffs, drug deals, even a hit he'd ordered on a rival dealer. Klein's testimony, backed by the evidence, sealed it. The trial was a spectacle. Danny's badge, once a symbol of fear, was now evidence against him. The Barrio watched, holding its breath, as Los Valientes testified anonymously, their identities shielded to protect them. Maria spoke last, her voice steady as she described the terror Danny had inflicted. "He betrayed us," she said, "but we took our neighborhood back." Danny was convicted on multiple counts: extortion, racketeering, conspiracy. The judge sentenced him to 25 years, no parole. As he was led away, he glared at the gallery, searching for faces he'd never find. The Barrio exhaled. La Esperanza reopened, its tables packed with neighbors sharing stories and laughter. Javier rebuilt his barbershop, a mural of Los Valientes, faceless but fierce, painted on its wall. Elena's videos became a local legend, a reminder that courage could outshine corruption. Klein, granted immunity, left the force and moved away, his part in the story unspoken but not forgotten. Maria stood outside her taqueria one evening, watching Sophia laugh with friends. The streets felt lighter, the air cleaner, but she knew the scars remained. Danny was gone, but others like him could rise. She touched the small pendant around her neck, a gift from Sophia, and vowed to keep fighting. For her daughter, for her home. The badge of betrayal was buried, but the Barrio's heart beat stronger than ever.